We are in the zone, National Flood Experts Project Spotlight Series today with Kent Jennings of the Jennings Group. Kent, how are you today?
I'm doing just fine, thank you.
Excellent. Well, this is a really exciting project to talk about. This one was very impactful, and I think this will be really valuable for, other, potential, prospects and property investors who run into a flood zone. So tell me a little bit about the Jennings Group and yourself.
Well, gosh, I think this is like my 52nd year in the business. I started when I was but a baby. Um, the Jennings Group has been in business for about 45 years, and we manage currently about 2,300 units of residential in Eugene, Springfield, and so a smattering of commercial and things like that. We're the largest privately owned property management company that's doing fee-based property management in town, but all the nationals are here too. Quite a dynamic place, Nike Town, for sure.
Yeah, you're coming to us from the Pacific Northwest. Definitely not the usual areas that people think of in terms of flood zones. Everyone thinks of, the Gulf Coast or the East Coast. Um,
Well, I've been here, I don't know how many years back, maybe 30, 25 years back, when the Willamette River, which is the one we're talking about, the Willamette River starts in Eugene and dumps out in Portland into the Columbia River, and Portland's about 110 miles north, so the river runs from south to north, and I've seen it get pretty damn high. I mean, like up to the bike path
oh, I'm
before it
sure.
fell back down.
Now, if people can believe it, one of our sales reps, Alicia, she struck up a conversation with a cold call. Can't be too many people calling you about the flood zone, I'm sure.
It was interesting that I answered the call or even called her back. I don't recall which it was. Because, yeah, especially from Florida. I mean, you guys are home to Right National, and that is not a good recommendation. But yeah, I talked to her mainly because our premium, I just got the renewal notice in for the excess lines part, had gone up to 45,000 a year, and FEMA has gone down to about 36 a year. So combined, I've been looking at 80, $90,000 in flood insurance now. And it's a ridiculous amount of money, especially when nobody believes that we have a flood exposure. Our clients, I mean, could we have a flood exposure? Sure. And we could also have a meteor fall on us. But we've got 5 or 6 flood control dams way upriver from where we're at. And if our area were to flood, literally a third of the value of Eugene would be gone. I mean, Eugene's got a couple 100,000 people. I mean, it just became ridiculous. And so when Alicia called, I was more than happy to talk to her. She's a nice person. I was skeptical as all get out, but she talked to me about what you guys had done for the property across the street, which is a very large medical building. And I certainly had to listen to that. And, you guys, it's interesting, skepticism aside, you have a way to get around it, because the next step and the next step and the next step didn't require anything from me. I wasn't paying you money. I wasn't being committed. There was no point of no return. She just made it. I mean, how are you not going to say yes to additional information for no money? And so we just kept kind of going down the path. And I am not really aware of what you guys did behind the scenes, but clearly you know what you're doing. And finally, you said you were done. We've got the amended FEMA map line adjustment form. Starts
Yeah,
with an M.
letter of map amendments.
That one, yeah. And presented it to Nationwide, who is the lender on the property. And it took them a while, but I mean, a while being a month or so. And they removed the flood insurance requirement from the property. And there you go. So it worked out great. One thing I'd like to say on that is that I'm a big believer in that insurance and what you do and don't buy is a big function of a sleep at night factor for the client. Some clients are just fine paying minimal dollars for minimal coverage, and that's just it. That's what they do. These particular clients are not that way at all. I mean, they're very conservative on all things, and they just are very risk averse. But they had effectively made the decision that wouldn't it be nice to be without flood insurance? We didn't think we could, but it wasn't a hard sell. But the decision to drop it was made prior to it. That really wasn't a national flood expert decision. It was made for us. We decided we wanted to get rid of the requirement, and then you guys made that happen.
Good timing. Yeah, a lot of investors don't know that the flood maps can be changed and that these requirements can be removed. At that point, you've got the option to then really think it through and make a decision, as opposed to the lender dictating what you have to have, which in your case sound to be a pretty high limit, north of 80,000 in annual premium.
I mean, really, the GPR for the property is only 147 a month or something like that. And, 80 grand a year, 85 grand on top of a 200 and whatever grand property tax bill. I mean, at some point you're giving away a lot of months' rents.
Right. Now,
So
let me
anyway,
ask you this.
Yeah.
For a property of this size, being able to add, 80, 85,000 in additional NOI to the asset, what type of impact does that make for you and for your investor client?
Well, cap it out at 6%, and that tells you the property valuation number, which I don't have in front of me, but whatever that amount is, hundreds of thousands for sure. And then on cash flow, and there's always something to do with the cash flow, which generally goes into property improvements. But there's just no reason to truly waste money on the property. And it also took FEMA FEMA made a change in their definition of what our flood zone was, which also I think helped on your amendment that you got. In fact, I think that's why everybody got to looking at it, is because we knew they dropped our risk rate.
Yeah, when the flood maps change, they have some type of residual impact, but there's nothing automatic at the building level. And so that's where something like this takes it those final steps to then confirm the additional, buildings to be taken out of the 100-year flood zone.
Yeah. The other thing that I did over the years on this thing is a lot of flood insurance policies are not written at all well. And when I got to really staring at the Kent Fields ones, this was a lot of years back, it didn't cover anything. I mean, we were paying out a ton of money, but by the way, the buildings weren't labeled. There was just there's no flood insurance company that would have paid a claim on it because it was so poorly written. They'll take our premium, but they would have never paid a claim. And that is kind of always stuck in my mind as being something that just wasn't right. But neither here nor there. It's gone now, and life is good. We'll certainly notice it next year.
No doubt. Well, let me ask you this in closing, Kent. So for other clients like yourself, maybe receiving a cold call or, that are running into a flood zone, what type of advice would you have, for them similarly?
Well, first off, I was really pleased working with Alicia. She just made it way too easy and never put me in a corner of having to spend this money or make this commitment or that commitment prior to the whole process where you guys had to perform and we had to choose clear up to the end to actually drop the insurance before the fee was due to you or before the insurance got dropped. So, I mean, you couldn't say no. There just wasn't any barrier in there. And I really enjoyed working with her. As I said earlier in the interview, I think that the decision on whether or not to drop flood coverage, I mean, we're like 300 yards beside one of Oregon's largest rivers. And, it's not hard to understand why flooding would be imaginable, although there's like 6 dams upstream. But anyway, my point being, people need to make a decision independent of this process as to how they feel about going to bed at night with or without the flood insurance, because that's what it's all about. What's it take to make you sleep at night? What is your risk
Absolutely.
factor? My clients, as conservative as they are, wanted to get rid of it. You guys made it happen, and Alicia was a joy to work with.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're wanting to give options, right? So it's not our job to say one way or the other, but if we can qualify the solution, which, like you said, starts with a free review, there's no obligation after that review to do anything. But at that point, once you know a solution's possible, then you can really think through a situation differently, knowing that you have the option.
Well, you guys are clearly, and what struck me through this is you had to be really confident that you were going to succeed, or you wouldn't be talking to me. So I'm kind of thinking from the get-go of this thing, I'm going, these guys know what they're doing. And there's no way that, I mean, I'm sure if you explained it to me, I could figure it out, but good luck with that. You know, it's what you guys do for a living, and our return, you know, I'd probably be working on what you guys did for years to come and still fail. So I was pretty confident that you guys knew what you're doing and were going to succeed, or you wouldn't have done it in the first place. There was no reason why you would have fussed around with the property.
Well, we appreciate your faith and, being a great client, Kent. And, thanks again for taking the time today, to share some details from the project.
You betcha.